Welcome to Mondays Beyond the Mic. This is the place where we go beyond surface level topics in our relationships, and this provides us an opportunity to dive into more personal and profound relationship topics, and we bring from aspects of our life. We want to say thank you for returning. We know we were not here last week. Hopefully, you missed us because we definitely missed you all. So we apologize for last week, but life happens. We had to take a day off. But we thank you for returning. If you are returning, we thank you and we welcome you if it's your first time with us. As a personal disclaimer, or just as a disclaimer, we want to say we talk about our relationship aspects from our personal experiences. So we are just here to share information that we have experienced in hopes that it would help someone else. This is why we bring professionals up to bring deeper insights. As you see, we have our very own Bravo with Sheila with us tonight to help us navigate through these topics. Yay, yay, yay. House rules. We know the house rules are respect, respect, respect. Everyone's not relationship. Well, relationship should be respected too. However, everyone's opinion will be respected on this platform. Again, we have Bravo with Sheila with us tonight. Tonight's topic is what hurts us, comforts us. But before we move on, let's see who chimed in this week. If they really missed us,
Well,
we have even here.
They're
hey,
slowly coming in. They're slowly coming in.
hey, Anae, how are you? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hey, Sandra. She said, hey, Anae, and everyone else.
And we're saying hey to everyone else because we see there's some people in the bleachers, the balconies. Y'all not in the chats, but we know y'all up there. But Elaine, tell them what they need to do if they're watching.
If you are watching and you are in the bleachers, what do we want you to do? Like us, please, share, please, subscribe. And if you really want to make me happy, make a super chat, please. Hit the super chat. I will smile. Pache will smile. We will all smile.
And guess
Welcome,
what?
everyone. We are
Yep.
excited tonight.
And with that super chat, guess what happens? Your comment skips up and is the first to be read, regardless to how many comments are in there. So that's what the super chat is about.
And they help the channel grow.
Yes, it
Yes.
helps the channel grow. So we need some super chats. Even if
I'm
you're just watching,
I'm
you get
believing
some
for
super
the
chatting.
super chats on tonight. How many super chats? I think I'm believing. I'm believing for super
Super
chat.
Okay,
chats or
super chats,
stickers.
super chats or stickers. That's what we need. That's what we need.
And we're not saying or and.
And
There you go. So as we continue, we are in the book How to Be an Adult in Relationships. The author, David Rico, he is a psychotherapist, a teacher, writer, and workshop leader, and he expands on the five keys to mindful loving, which we talked about. Hey, that was 2 weeks ago. Look at that. Tom is absolutely flying. We have more people coming in.
Corey Hunter said, "What's up, ladies? What's up, Corey?"
What's up, Corey? What's Corey?
Pastor Rosa said, "Good evening, ladies. Good evening, Pastor Rosa."
Evening, Pastor. So tonight's topic, like we said, what hurts us comforts us. But we have a little twist we're going to throw in there, and we're going to talk about soul ties tonight. How many people know about soul ties? Quick definition. Soul ties are emotional or spiritual connections that deeply bond two people. These ties can come from various types of relationships, including romantic, family, or even friendships. They are often taught to be created through shared experiences, particularly those involving strong emotional or physical connection. So that's the little twist that we are going to throw in there tonight. What hurts us comforts us. Well, we should say hashtag soul ties, right?
Uh-huh.
Hashtag soul ties. So, co-host Elaine, you want to reach the first.
Yes, so I am excited about having Pastor Sheila Ingram, LPC, on because she dropped wisdom when she was with us on the last time. So I'm here, I'm soaking it up, so I'm ready. So here's the question, or here is a portion from the book. It says, we keep going back for more when there is only less. Now that's deep in and of itself. We keep
Oh,
going back to what failed us before. You keep hurting me, but I can't leave you.
Hmm.
How many of us? I mean, I know. Okay, I'm going to keep reading. All right. So with that in mind, I'm sorry, I almost had a moment.
That's
Um,
okay.
the
It's all
first
right to
question.
have a moment.
The first question is: what are the main ways soul ties form between individuals?
Okay. Well, thank you so much for inviting me back to Beyond the Mic, Monday Beyond the Mic. You girls are really doing great. And I really appreciate you inviting me back to your platform to chat up a little bit about the topics. Soul ties in one sitting, we cannot dissect it, but we'll do the best we can for the people tonight. Soul ties. The question again is what are the main ways soul ties form between individual? Well, soul ties come in different colors and different shapes. There can be negative soul ties and positive soul ties. From a Christian perspective, soul ties are bonded together. That's why when we get married, and not just a Christian, but when people get married, they say, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. You know, you leave your mother and father to cleave to your wife. Cleaving is a cleaving, which means you're separating soul ties to come into a soul tie with that other person. What happens a lot of times that people aren't aware of the connection that's going on in soul ties. So let's talk 1 minute from this biblical perspective. A soul tie can be created through various ways. Let's talk about a man and a woman. Let's talk about any man and a woman sexually. Sexually, when you are intimate with someone, married, not married, Christian, non Christian, doesn't matter. You're a human. And what happens is the fluid or the semen, for a lack of a better term, we're keeping it real as always here, is moved into a female, which semen has blood. And those of us that are believers understand the power of the blood. We understand that when there's a blood covenant, right? Because now a soul tie becomes a covenant, whether you verbally said it, but when you become intimate with someone, it becomes such a strong covenant because of the fluid exchange with a male and a female. Now, do we pay attention to this or understand this while this is happening? No, we find out usually after the fact. So that type of soul tie, the cleaving, the transmittal of fluids causes a bond automatically. And that's why it's so important. And you think about it, the Lord only wanted us to have one husband because he wanted us to be with one person, right? So when we have different relationships and we sleep with multiple people or we have relationships with multiple people, even if they break up and we break up, there's still a covenant in space and in place with you and that individual. I don't want to get ahead of you. So what are the main ways? So that is a way. Another way a soul tie can happen is a positive soul tie, a soul tie with a wonderful friendship. Let's use you and Coco Pache, for example, the way that you met, you believe that that was so orchestrated by God. God didn't allow you to meet, and you grew up in the same area. But when you met, it was the timing of God, and you became close and you became tied to each other eventually in business, as a confidant, and it became a positive soul tie. So sometimes people think that a soul tie, because they always hear the drama and the negative content behind it, that a soul tie is negative. It is not. In the Bible, we know that Jonathan and David had a positive soul tie. They were so close as brothers that even he was getting ready to cut his father off just to save his friend. So there are soul ties, platonic soul ties there are soul ties between a mother and a child. So we have to open up our mind when we're talking about soul ties, the negative as well as the positive soul tie. There is a soul tie that I've experienced myself when my husband, Pache's dad, was not gonna. He was murdered, right? He was killed, and the soul tie I had with him was so powerful and so very difficult to break because of the bond that we had. Not to mention, I had children, not to mention, I got married, and then he was taken away from us, I'll say, not just me. So that soul tie I struggled with for many years. And sometimes when you don't recognize a soul tie that you should be trying to get healed from, you move that tie over into the next relationship, not even understanding that the soul tie has not even been broken. And so the emotional tie is just so deep, and I want people to really understand this is not a joke. This is something that could either free you or chain you. And so there's another soul tie where someone loses a child, and you go in their home and the crib is still up, the pictures is up, the curtains and the colors in the room, and the child has been gone for so long, but no one, the mother won't allow anyone to touch that room. The mother won't allow anything to happen because the tie of the emotion has been tied so strong. I can drop the mic there and you can pick back up if I've answered a bit of that.
I think you answered more than a bit of that. That was awesome. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, oh, I can identify right there. So I think this was it. That was really, really good. And thank you. Thank you. I don't know if you want to add anything, Pache, before I go to the next question.
Go to the next question. I just go to the next question.
Okay, she was just all in our business, right? No.
Yeah. Yeah. So okay, I will. I'll back up. I'll park for a minute. So when we talk about soul ties in relationships and breaking that soul tie. So for an example, let's say you've broken up with someone 10 years ago
Mhm,
and you haven't seen them in 10 years.
mhm,
And when you see him or her, you be like, oh, wait a minute now, hold on. Because I
mhm.
remember when. Does that mean you're still tied? Does that mean you
Yes.
had a flashback? Oh,
Yes,
okay.
it's still a tie because a soul tie has to be renounced or denounced. A soul tie has to verbally be spoken in order for you to reverse what you've been saying about that tie. For instance, some say the mind can act as a gateway. We know the mind, the soul, we know we're tri being, right? So some say the mind can act as a gateway to the soul. When you think on things and you think on it long enough, whether it's positive or negative, it reaches down into your emotions and to your soulish nature. And sometimes we respond in tears, we respond in laughter. So, based on what I let park up in my head, is what has me bound. If I think of a funny story and I sit here and just think, it's going to cause me to laugh because my thought connects to my emotion and my soul. It's going to give me laughter. If I think about my mom and I see my mom in that casket, which I try not to do a lot because it takes me to a place I don't need to go. But if I stay in that space long enough, I will line up with the feeling of pain and missing her, and I will cry. So the soul tie, you could be walking in the mall with someone, your husband, and you bump into someone, as you're saying, from 10 years ago. Now, you may not even know this, and this happens with men and women. You're just minding your business, walking with your new boo, your new husband, and you happen to bump into an old flame, right? No matter if that old flame was a year old in your life or 10 years, it still was a connection. Remember, an emotional connection. And so that whether it is, you could gauge, oh, hi, how you doing? And feel nothing. That means you've moved from a space to where, oh, but you never really know where you are until you test it in these areas. Or you could be walking in a mall or somewhere and with your husband, whoever, bump into somebody, you'd be like, oh my God, whew, your heart, it's like yesterday, I just saw him when I met him. You know, that kind of thing. Then your husband don't have a clue. He don't have a clue what's going on because you are surprised at yourself. And now you're walking continuously, you don't left the person, but your mind is like, oh my God, you start remembering and you might feel something. So it really depends on the work that you have done with yourself and how much of an impact that person had in your life.
Okay, good.
I, I I mean, that was good. And I think when you're talking about the impact, I think a part of that, like soul ties and creating those moments, if you have, um, I guess good moments with a person, then you kind of, as I say, think on these things.
Yeah.
And, the smell of the cologne or perfume
Yes.
trigger something.
He's froze.
Okay. All right. That was good. Um,
Yeah.
Before we move
so
on, we have a question.
the next question. Okay.
I said we have a comment, a question.
A comment. Can you have a soul tie even if you haven't exchanged fluids, meaning a high school crush, that when you see them, those feelings come up?
Absolutely. Because the soul tie is an emotional bond, right? The fluid exchange makes it that much deeper when you have that intimate, locked fluid covenant. Covenant meaning agreement in soul, right? Like when they've taught us many times about when we talk about staying away, abstaining from having multiple partners, especially if you're not protecting yourself, right? And they say someone gets a STD or a problem, and they tell you they'll line up a picture of 15 people and say you slept with all of them because you slept with every person, right? You have to realize that this is it's a continuous thing of merging. That's why a man can be married, a woman can be married and wind up having a one night stand with somebody they were in college with, for instance, right? You didn't finish what you started, or you're interested now because you're older. So yes, you can have that kind of crush because that emotion, right? That emotion is there. Now it may not be as strong as another type because you didn't spend time, you didn't merge together, but the feeling that you have is there. I hope that answered you, Corey.
Pastor Rose said, you are absolutely right, Pastor Sheila. It's a deep connection. So if it's negative, we will transfer it to whoever we connect with next. We
Hmm.
have to face the truth about people we connect with.
Hmm. Correct.
Okay, Landon is
Landon,
thinking.
I think that's a sad face. I'm not sure what
I
the
think
emotion.
he's thinking. It looked like he's thinking about some things right now.
Okay. Antoinette says, good evening, Harlem girls and Bravo Nation. I'm on the way.
Yay. Okay, let's go to the next question.
So the next question, why do individuals stay or return to unhealthy relationships? I think you kind of sort of answered it, but
Yeah, it's common, and it's always hope, especially if you're hoping for something to be what you wanted it to be. And if it turns out to be disastrous, we as women and people in general always wish and hope and think, well, maybe they've changed, or, maybe it was me. Or when you start having irrational thoughts to make it rational, to do an action, right? To go back. The other thing is, look how many times there's been DV, and a woman is constantly in a DV situation, constantly being abused, right? But yet, you try to get them to leave, minus the fear, because of that soul tie, whether it was negative or positive. That's why a lot of times people speak about, oh, she's stupid, or he's this, he's that. You can't speak to that because of the tie that that person has. So they return back to see what, if something's changed, if it's gotten better. Have I changed? But some things we don't need to return to. But if you're not strong enough to walk away, I mean, there have been so many, we've seen even on TV, so many movies with soul ties. What is that movie that I think Beyonce played in it? And I mean, they were
Miss
throwing
Alba.
down, right? Because the girl or something wouldn't leave her husband
Hmm.
alone. Or even Fatal Attraction. That's a major one. Fatal Attraction. So deception right? Deception leads to destruction, because when you deceive a male or female, when you deceive someone who is totally in love with you, then you're calling a whole mental exchange, and you're calling us causing a certain other kind of fluid to move into. Now I'm deceived, you lied, I gave you all of me. Some people cannot handle that on that level. So the soul tie is so emotionally gripping that people can't just walk away from it. People think this art doesn't exist. It does exist, especially when we're talking about from the biblical sense of the blood exchange, the fluid exchange. That is a blood covenant. We talk about Christ with the blood covenant. Why is blood so solid? Why does everything that has connection, the blood sacrifices, everything, the blood, get the lamb without spots, but we're going to have the blood of the blood, even blood in history where we slavery, and there's so much blood in the ground. You ever notice, like when they're talking about reversing for our people, because so much slave blood was in the ground, in the dirt, because blood is so powerful,
Mhm.
right? So it's very important to understand, when you return to an unhealthy relationship, looking for some rational thing that is totally irrational just to give you the green light to go to it, it's just going to wind up in destruction. Because if the soul tie isn't positive, you have unpositive, you have unhealthy soul ties with females. I've had unhealthy soul ties with females. Let's talk a little bit about that. Unhealthy soul ties with females, where females dominate their friends, where they feel they can dominate their friends. You need to do this, and why are you doing
Mhm.
that? And because you have a friendship, you can tell when it's borderline dominating. And so
Mhm.
that becomes ungodly when you have friends that are overbearing over you and narcissistic over you, and it becomes a very bad soul tie. And then you don't want to break up friendship, because it may be your only friend, it may be one of your best friends, and you're seeing this, so you just continue to be under the foot of somebody. That's the ungodly soul tie.
That's good.
Mm. Yeah,
We
a
could
lot
just park
said.
right there.
Before,
Right.
yeah, we can park right there because you kind of answered the next three questions.
Oh,
So let's go to our commercial break and talk to our
okay.
people.
Okay.
So Antoinette says, I returned because it was familiar and a sense of safety. At least I thought it was. I think
Mm.
that's so true. Familiarity, as I said, breeds content. So I
Yes.
knew this. I don't know what's out there. So I'll
Oh
stay
yeah.
here. I know the evil in here. I don't know the evil out
Exactly.
there.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're not
Yeah.
alone, Internet. Guilty.
I'm so
It,
glad because
But
Lord
you're not
knows.
listen, I'm
alone.
quite sure everybody on here can go
Right.
back and think of a
Woo.
moment and go, yeah.
No,
I,
that's so good. Put that comment back up
Yeah.
again.
Well,
And
Antoinette,
the
you
funny
can read
thing
your
is,
own comment. No.
okay. Okay. Well,
right.
let me put my glasses on so I can see what I say.
Go ahead. What did you say?
I said I returned because it was familiar and it was a sense of safety. At least I thought it was. I went back to what I thought was a comfortable spot where I didn't have to start all over again. I went back to someone who I thought knew me so we could kind of pick up where we left off. Um, and I didn't have to start out the gate brand spanking new. Like you already know who I am, you know what I'm getting. You know what you're getting, and I know what I'm getting. And every time I hit the rewind button, it was the biggest mistake I've ever made.
Yeah,
Every
that's
time I hit the rewind button.
yeah, that's that space of hope that we have as women, because when you get familiar with someone, you're
Yes,
comfortable. You don't want to
exactly.
start over. They know you, you know them. So it's like, how come we can't make this thing work?
Right.
And but then if when nothing
Nothing
changes, right?
changes.
So when we give the benefit of the doubt to someone, it's like time out at a certain point. It's the same thing, even if you're not living. This just popped in my head. Like, I know women who have long distance relationships through these apps, right? And they build strong soul ties with people they've never seen before. But because you spend trillions of hours on the phone, that's just like dating face to face. And before you know it, you're very, very deep, deep inside of this person Now, this person may not have anything, no type of deep connection with you, but they projected that. And so,
Mhm.
because of all these hours on the phone and you're talking, that's just like dating. That's why when you meet somebody, you be like, I know you. You already know me, because the phone dating is just like physical dating. But one thing we have to remember as women, that if a man, your boo, your husband to be, whoever, if they haven't said that you are my woman, that you we're doing dating, if they haven't said it, he's still your brother. I don't care how many times he's been on the phone. I don't care how many times y'all talk. He said he loved you. He took you to
That's
eat
right.
dinner. He knows your love language, all of that. If he didn't say you're the one, then he's your brother.
Period.
Ding, ding,
I'm
ding,
about to
ding, ding,
throw
ding,
my
ding,
whole
ding, ding,
computer
ding.
at you.
Right?
I mean,
Did you
I think that, I mean,
get
just to
that
comment, I
part?
think that's great. It's a matter of, and especially as women, because we do a lot of assumptions, right? We say,
Mhm.
I've spent time with you, or I see him every day. And
Yeah.
I'm only going from, when we are little, most girls, we're trained in our heads to play with the dolls. We're trained in our
Mhm.
heads. So our psyche has already been, well, I'm just going to speak when I was little. I saw my parents, but I had the baby alive. I had the,
Oh,
Barbie and Ken gets married. So all of these relationships have been played
Yeah.
out in my head as a child. So when we have these conversations, it goes into our psyche. I don't
true.
think men do this. I don't know, but we sit down and we like, me and so sitting in a tree. I don't think men do that.
Hey, right,
First come love, then come marriage, then
Right.
come somebody with a baby
gotta
carriage.
Right.
write
I
your
don't
name on
think
the
most men
notebook.
even know
Right.
that. Or you
So,
used
gotta
to
write it
write
on
Right.
the
the
notebook.
numbers down, his name, my name, how many
Yeah.
E's, how many
Yes.
A's,
Yes.
how do we match? All
Yeah.
all of this crazy stuff that has absolutely, and he
Oh
hasn't
God.
said I like you.
At
He has,
all.
you
At
know, took
all.
you to dinner. Well, he ate too. So
Yeah.
it's not as if you went to dinner by yourself and he said, I want to make sure there's groceries in your refrigerator to make sure, or whatever the case may be. So I think
Yeah.
that's very powerful, because if we love,
Mm.
then we fall in love with the idea, and it
Indeed.
Mm.
doesn't matter the person,
Mm.
opposed to saying I want the right person to be in love, or
Mm.
I want to get married. Some people want the wedding and not
Mhm.
understanding the
Mm.
marriage, the work of it. And I'm speaking as a person who's been married, divorced, to say, would I get married again? Absolutely. But do I want to marry just anyone? Absolutely not.
Not.
Because
Mhm.
no, and it is not about, and I know I'm a swing here, and I'm probably gonna get some comments in that chat there, but is not so much about finances, because you can be with someone who is extremely wealthy and you still can't stand them. It's but so many beaches you can see, is but so many seas, and
Yes.
at the end of the day, can we survive, and
Mm.
not even survive? Do we enjoy one another's company? Are
Mm.
we happy if we're just sharing a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? Are we
Mm.
happy? So it doesn't matter where we go as long as we go together. So I think that's, I kind of went all over, but maybe I just need to get that
Eh,
out of
no,
after 2 weeks
you need
off.
to get it out.
So I
It's
just,
okay.
I think that in when we are looking at relationships, especially from a woman's perspective, is that we need to figure out what's healthy for me. And
Mhm.
no one's perfect. And I often say this: I don't want perfection. I want the imperfect person that's perfect for me.
Correct. Correct.
Yes.
That I can say,
We,
yeah, I can deal with that. Oh, yeah.
yeah.
And I want him to say,
Mhm.
I can deal with that.
Mm.
Whatever it is. So that was me. I just had a therapy session. Okay.
That was awesome.
It's good. And I'm
Yeah.
glad you said peanut butter and jelly because the breadstick, I was going to say oodles and noodles. Like we could do oodles and noodles, but long as we together and we got this thing going, because you can hook up some oodles and noodles.
Yes, you
They
can.
might not be as healthy, but I digress. Okay. We have a lot of comments. We have
You
comments.
do.
You
You
want
do.
to, we got a lot of comments going on here.
You do.
Aloha to the family. Good to see you, beautiful ladies. We say thank you. Missed y'all last week. We got somebody who missed us. I'm not going to be with you today because I'm out celebrating a blessing.
All
Much
right.
love, and I will definitely watch later. So he is
Awesome.
definitely a part of the
Thank you,
replay.
Reggie.
So we appreciate
Thank
you,
you,
Reginald.
Reggie. Yes.
Dr. Cheryl Hardy.
Hey,
Go back. We go back because it's familiar,
Yes.
sexually, emotionally,
Yes.
and financially. Again, it goes back to what you said, Antoinette. We
Yes.
are, I know what it is. I don't
Yes.
know what I'm gonna get.
And I
So
just and I just have to say it was emotional and psychological for me because they was all broke. So ain't nobody have no money. So it wasn't a financial situation. But again, I think I fell in love with the listen, look, like Coco says, you're gonna get what you get out the gate. This is me. It wasn't even
yeah.
about money. Like I just wanted the like, come on, man, we can do this. Like, you know me. Come on, it's okay. And it's just terrible. I think I fell in love with the potential.
Oh,
See,
that's
potential
easy to happen.
instead of what was really sitting in front of
Mhm.
me. Like, I'm the
Mhm.
Mhm.
queen of benefit of the doubt. I will give you the benefit of the doubt till there's no more benefit left in the doubt. I will give it
Yeah.
to you. And
Yeah.
every time I've done that, all I did was set myself back
Yeah.
over and
That
over.
codependency. I can help you. I know you got the good in you, but I see good in you and I can help you. What you need?
Yes,
What you need? Let me help.
the
That.
fixer, the fixer.
Yeah. The fixer for sure.
Yeah, the fixer. It's crazy. I got problems, y'all. That was a therapy session too.
Yes.
listen, we all learning. So I hope I say this. Yana said good evening.
Yona.
Yona, I'm
Jonas.
sorry. Yeah.
She's our niece. She's my niece.
Hey,
Oh, okay.
Yona. Hey, Theo.
Theo said hi, ladies. Hello, Theo. I see we have a super chat.
All right.
Hold on. We got to skip the line. Hold on.
That's right. Hey, Anae. And look, you get a little extra,
Hey,
Anae.
Now,
read
Loving
her,
this conversation,
read her
praying for
super chat.
healthy soul ties that glorify God.
yes,
Amen. And we
amen.
Man.
thank you, Anae,
Thank you. Now
for the
now we go
super chat.
back to the other regular
Regularly
scheduled
scheduled
commercial
programming.
breaks.
That's nice.
The Gaffy place says, I think that happens with us gentlemen as well. All
I can
right.
see
It
that.
does.
Going back.
It does. So
Yeah.
so let's mention a little bit about the men.
Wait,
We don't
I
want to
don't know if we
forget
want to,
them.
Okay.
you want me,
Hold
I'll
that
read this
comment.
and then, okay.
Okay, go ahead. Read it. Read it.
The Gaffy place says, ladies, are we underestimating men's reactions to our own known and unknown attachment styles?
Hmm.
Well, with men, I know we're talking about women and men, but soul ties go on both sides of the of the spectrum, both sides of the block. And men just express differently and behave a little differently than women, although they suffer the same way in their heart. If there's a breach of something they expected and something they put into and something they gave their time to, and all of a sudden a woman now does what we're talking about now, ghosts them or creates a hardship in their heart. Men adjust to things differently and respond differently. Some men get physical. Some men, if I can't have you, nobody can.
Yeah.
Some men walk away and try to stay away just to change and grow and be, because remember, men, they want to be who they are designed to be, the leader, the head, right? And so when that's imposed on, when there's an infraction upon them because of someone, a woman, the soul tie doesn't have a male or female, thing. It's like a soul tie, and when a male is dealing with that, a lot of women don't understand that they have these emotions because men express differently, right? But they have to heal the same way that women, that people in general have to heal, because emotions are emotions and you have to do the work. You have to renounce and denounce soul ties. You have to get rid of things that people gave you. The man that gave you the underwear with his initials on it. You have to
Not
get
with the
rid of.
initials. Wait a minute.
Yeah, you gotta get rid of the gifts. The gifts.
It's true.
That's,
You
that's
you
Jill.
can't
I ain't never had a pair.
You
I think
can't you can't hold stuff. Get my point. That's why I went that far. You can't be
Not
holding things and keeping that one thing in the
yeah.
drawer. Just because you don't, oh, his cologne smells like his shirt, and all that kind of things, and the things he's giving you, that kind of stuff causes the soul. Never mind.
Listen, never mind. But I want to go back real quick, and then we're gonna read because the Gaffy Price is talking to us. But the under okay, let me leave that over there. I want to go back to something Antoinette had said with respects to seeing the good in people, because I've done that too. I see the potential. I see the potential. The flip
Yeah.
side of that is I've been set free and delivered, and he's still there.
Correct.
I'm not marrying you. I'm not getting married. I said, well, I
Correct.
guess you won't be getting married.
Right.
Sorry. And even to the point which you said with getting rid of everything, the underwear definition, I'm not gonna go that far. I have literally in the process of moving given away furniture. Like I'm not
Mhm.
taking anything.
Keeping anything. I agree.
I cut everything and started from
Me
scratch.
too.
So Vaughn is cracking up. So we hear Vaughn.
We hear you, Vaughn.
No, for real.
We
I
hear
mean,
you.
listen, you get all type of trinkets and stuff in
It's true.
relationships, stuff that you don't share with people and stuff that you do. Today, I'm afraid to think of what people give people because they have edible panties and
All
edible
kind of
stuff with all
things.
kind of engravings and
Well,
all kind of things
well,
like
Pastor
that.
Sheila, if it's edible, it's gone already.
No. They keep them in the drawer. They have a lot of them. They don't come with one.
They might
They
rot.
have them.
Also,
They be ready. Yeah, they keep them there so that they ready. It's
okay. We got edible
so
things that
but
go on for you. They
you gotta
vanish.
get
They
rid of it. You gotta get rid of that stuff. You gotta anything that
okay.
reminds you of what you're trying to run from.
Right.
You can't have it. That one t-shirt, that perfume, that cologne.
Get
Mm-hmm.
rid of it.
Chuck it.
Hmm. Okay, the Gaffy
All right.
Play says,
Oh God.
friend, you got it? Want me to help you out? Wait,
So,
hold on. Try to skip. Vaughn,
Vaughn, I'm on the floor. We hear you, Vaughn. We hear you for
Oh
sure.
God.
okay,
Help me, Lord.
okay. My co-host, my friend is done right now. The Gaffy Play says, let's be clear. There are similar reactions on both
God.
sides.
Yep.
Amen. That's right.
You got it, friend?
Lorena Bobbitt basically showed us
Oh,
a little
show.
of that, didn't she? And did Glenn Close character
Yes.
in
Mhm.
Fatal
Oh, yeah.
Attraction? If I
Oh
can,
yes.
I think a part of it is crimes of passion, right? When
Yeah.
we think of things like that, when the soul tie, when people, male or female, right? I think that uh, is something that we have. I think we handle it. We probably handle it differently depending on our emotional intelligence
Mm.
or lack thereof. Becomes the issue in that, because yeah, women can be crazy too, scratching cars, keying cars, tires out.
Been in
I've
pain.
never done any of these things, by the way, but I think that those types of things can happen, and then vice versa, men in the bushes, or like whatever it may be.
Not the bushes.
Like, yeah, I mean, I've heard
Yeah,
stories before, like
absolutely.
he was in my bushes. Like, are you serious?
That's
Or
funny.
you stalking or watching
Yeah.
people, just trying to see where they are, what they're doing,
Mhm.
and so on and so forth. But I think going back to when we're thinking about the soul tie, and then we have to take a step back, if you're the individual in that, and then dissect it. We have to be able to say, okay, is this how I'm feeling? How do I get rid of it? To your point, Pastor Sheila, where it's, do I get rid of, or I have to get rid of these things, or I have to disconnect. How do I disconnect? And it's not an easy thing. I mean, I can speak for myself,
Yeah.
having gone through that and knowing that this is hard. It's
Yes.
hard because you spent years with a person. You
Right.
spent time, and one of the things that I've written down, that person has become a part of your psyche.
Right.
Like,
Absolutely.
they know you. They know how you move. You know how they move. To Antoinette's point, I know you. It's
Right.
familiar. It's comfortable.
Yeah.
And I know you're crazy. I don't know the crazy that's out there.
That's right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely. That is so true. Just, yeah, let's see what this says.
Landon said men try to keep their friendships going and usually go smooth, but sometimes let go.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, this is good. This is good. So we're gonna move on to another portion of the book. And it says, sometimes one partner does not meet the other's needs, but since he also does not do anything major to upset the apple cart, then it says Adam and Eve go on in the relationship without thinking of options such as change or separation. And the question is that we kind of answered it. Can you give examples of positive and negative soul ties? We did that.
Yes.
Another question is, how does physical intimacy influence the formation of soul ties? We're pretty much covering all this, but let's just keep going if you want to elaborate on that.
Well, no, just as sometimes the partner does not meet. That goes back to a little bit what you were just talking about, where you say sometimes one partner does not meet the other's needs. Okay, but you're still there,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you're still comfortable and you're used to it and you decide to stay because I don't feel like going out and meeting and learning
Mm-hmm.
somebody all over again. We can make this work. We've been together, right? And then but since he also does not do anything major to upset, ain't doing nothing major. I'm gonna hang in here. We paying the rent, she paying the rent, he paying the rent. Listen, I don't even have to get a raise. I'm just gonna stay here, be comfortable,
Ooh.
and just do what I do, do what I don't do, because we don't want to upset anything in the house, although it's already upset. So the settling, this
Mm-hmm.
soul tie becomes unhealthy because it's the settling now, and both parties are robbing themselves out of happiness, joy, because of one. You say you're comfortable or you don't want to leave. You got fear of moving out. Maybe the bills are in exchange. I can't live by myself right now. I can't afford it. It's so many different things, but we have to have a game plan no matter what if it's not healthy, and an exit strategy. And if people love each other, right? And you started out, hopefully, people miss this point that you got to be friends first. They skip over the line. They go from kindergarten to the 12th grade. They
Right.
miss all that other information. They don't even have a foundation of friendship. Because notice, when you have friends, even if friends are, you get into a little whatever, you guard your mouth and what you say to a friend. You won't go all in to a friend. You guard your mouth. But with husband, wife, booze, and this and that, you did this and that. It's no respect.
Yeah.
So if you don't have a strong foundation, even if you have to split with a soul tie that has become from healthy to unhealthy, at least the foundation of the friendship will cause you to back up, stop, pause, and say, you know what? I respect you too much to do this or say this. Let's just part. And then you deal with the soul tie apart, but people don't have the emotional intelligence, maybe, or just their character. It hasn't been built up to where you respect the person you done laid in the bed with and slept with all these years. And now what is that?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have a question. I mean, I think to your point when you talked about friendships starting, and I think, and this is just my opinion, um, that we have more people who are we're sexually attracted to each other, so we can just do what we want to do, and then it starts out from a sexual attraction, and
Mm-hmm.
then we try to figure out how to be friends, opposed
Mm-hmm.
to
Yeah. Reversed.
right, let's figure out how to be friends and
Yes.
we like each other, not
Yes.
you look good, I look good, we look good together. It's all
Yes.
superficial because I mean, I'm gonna be honest, how long you gonna be on your back?
Right.
20, 15, 20 minutes, but you're gonna spend most of your time upright.
Girl, 20
Right.
minutes is a long
If
time.
I'm sorry.
20
Actually,
minutes is a long time. Let's call it what it is. 6 minutes, Dougie Fresh, you're on. 6 minutes. 6 minutes.
I'm thinking is you're gonna spend most of your time in a position of conversation, hopefully thinking, building together, opposed to the attraction. And I understand men, more so men. So men, you can come on and say what you got to say, but men are visual. So she looks good, and she may look good, but what does she bring to your life? This Sunday, my pastors, they have been married for 40 years.
Oh,
I
wow.
asked them what would be your advice, and this is what he said. He said, choose wisely and treat kindly. I thought
Mm.
like, wow.
Mhm.
Because the partner that you choose could either make or break who you become or who you are.
Mm.
So if you choose wisely and treat kindly, because, and I'm going to use this from the biblical perspective, right? If he chooses us and we say yes, right? Because he asked us to marry and we say yes,
Mhm.
then we both need to figure out how to
Mhm.
treat each other kindly, even in the moments that we can't stand each other. And I
Yeah.
think that goes back to me saying, we're both imperfect, but we're perfect for each other.
Each other. Yes. That's good. That's really, really good. And they
Yeah.
said, uh-oh. I could
That's
see her face now.
funny.
Uh-oh.
Theo laughing. I don't know if time is
I'm
running. I'm not
running.
sure what that
That's,
means.
that's for the 6 minutes. 6 minutes.
6 minutes. Landon. Oh no, we read that one already.
Boy,
We done.
Reginald said, "Ladies, I can't believe I'm still here, but me and Remy, and I don't think he's talking about Remy Ma either, are having a good time. I have to agree with Miss Tony because I did the same thing. It wasn't about money because she was broke,
broke, broke.
broke,
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 broke.
broke,
She,
broke,
she
right.
wasn't just one broke. She was two broke.
broke, broke.
Pastor Rosa says, sounds like a bad settlement to me. I tried to take the person back, but it is best to listen to your own voice. Settling never works. Absolutely.
Mm,
Yeah.
Of course,
Yeah.
here we go. Here we go.
no.
Uh-oh. Who's in the house?
Okay. Okay. Okay.
No, but
Anywho, I wanted to
seriously,
say
go ahead. Go ahead.
what I
Um,
wanted to say about the bad relationship is like with the settling. We hand each other these scripts and we playing out these roles that neither one of us signed up for, but now we choose to stay, no matter how bad the script is. We gonna live here. I'm comfortable. I'm gonna stay here. It's blase, blase, like you said. She paying the bills. She cooking. She cleaning. I'm comfortable. We just gonna keep playing in this movie, no matter how bad it is. We gonna ride this thing out. Opposed to flipping that,
yeah.
and like you said, to the positive. Let's write a positive
Yeah.
script in Soul Time.
Right. And also, it's very important. We did a show on temperament and knowing your partner's needs and wants and strengths and weaknesses. If not, you're in the blind. We have relationships where we've been so in the blind that had we known certain things, we've been like, oh, that's how they're wired. Let me pull back. Let me, because you can look at an action and just be so wrong about how you size up a person. Like people's like, I know my temperament. How do you know? One thing they taught us in school to never guess. I mean, I'm good at it because I love it and I do it so much. And I can kind of guess, but then sometimes I've been wrong because your behavior could look one way, but your temperament need could be a whole different uh need. Like I gave the example, I could live in the suburbs, you could live in the hood. We have the same temperament, but our behavior is definitely going to be different. So
Hmm.
how we gonna guess? You can't. So it's very important with these soul ties. Many people are suffering today. I wanted to get stats. I couldn't really find the stats on how many women and men have suffered from being abused. Not really abused, but I won't even say misused. Where, soul ties, negative and positive. You know how it affected them, where they couldn't even go on. People have deleted themselves because of relationships. People have literally checked out and deleted themselves because of a strong soul tie, because they couldn't have who they wanted to have. And the person broke up. They couldn't handle it and they checked out. So it's just really we laughing, but this is a real serious topic we're talking
No,
about.
we're
I'm
laughing
sorry,
at
Mom. I
the
was laughing
comments.
at the
Yeah, the men
comments.
in the
The men are
comment.
going
I'm
So
sure.
Mike earlier said 45 minutes to an hour. So Reginald said, thank you, Mike, because 6, 15, or 20 minutes was not sounding good at all.
they got them
I'm gonna
pills
go
out
back. What did
anyway.
you say, Pache? We're all playing a script.
We all playing the script. We all playing the script. And if you taking them things that's out now, they blue pills, red pills, I don't know. But anyway, let's start a pot. Like, what we gonna do right now? We gonna shift. We gonna play the clip, and we gonna have the professional chime in because I really want to get your thoughts on this. And I'll tell you why. And I'm quite sure you will.
with your partner anymore and you're so you don't want to be with your partner anymore and you're finding it difficult to leave them. Why? You're in this position and you don't want to be with them anymore, but you don't know how to tell them. Is that what it is? Maybe not. Number one, you probably feel like you could still change this person. Let me tell you, if you've come to the decision that you don't want to be with this person anymore, you're not going to be able to change this individual. People are going to change when they want to change. Number two, you're emotionally attached to this person. Of course, you've been with them for quite some time, you're used to them. This person, for the last 2 years or so, this is all you've been used to. So, of course, you're emotionally attached to this person. And then number three, friends and family may be giving you different opinions. One person is probably telling you, hey man, fight for your relationship, figure it out. The other person is probably telling you, no, leave them. And you're probably sitting there getting more confused. When at the end of the day, you've already made your decision. Don't waste your time, and I suggest you don't waste the other person's time either. It just gets to the point where you've had enough. You've probably gone through a ton of arguments on this. You brought this to this person's attention many times and nothing is changing and you're frustrated. I do want to end with this. Learn how to put yourself first. I know it sounds selfish, but you have to put yourself first. If you go insane, how are you going to take care of everybody else around you?
Wow.
And I picked that clip because when, for the most part, we see all this relationship advice and nobody talks about soul ties. They think it's just, okay, I'm tired of you, I can't leave, I'm frustrated, not realizing it's deeper than that. It's not that easy, it's not that simple. I think you're hooking up your mic.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I was getting static in my ear. Can you
Okay.
hear me?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. So I missed part. Was there a question behind
What
what?
yeah, what I was saying is I particularly picked this clip because I think a lot of times when we hear all this social media advice and all these social media relationship gurus, they talk from the surface, not knowing that it's deeper than that, that it is a soul tie. And it's like, okay, you're tired, just leave. Not realize it's just not that simple.
Right, correct. But experience can speak to everything. Experience of where you've been, the kind of relationships you've had. And he had a lot of good points, like you want to go, but you don't know how. You don't want to hurt. You're really thinking about, I can't. But then you get other people in your head, in your ear. The family got to know the person, and well, he's really great, and why don't you guys try to make it? And becomes
Mhm.
pressure. And then once it becomes pressure, you doubt yourself, right? You doubt yourself. But like he said, you've talked to this person over and over, you've visited this situation, and there's been no change. Well, I know you guys see what's under my name. When nothing changes, nothing changes. Now, when you do change, people need to know when you change, everything around you changes. When you make a change, everything around you will change because of the change that you made. It may not mean anything to someone else, but if it's a change for you to better, for you to grow, for you to escape, for you to feel better, you can be concerned, but not so concerned to a fault. Now, when you change, people that lose control, right? I've seen many people come and want counseling or whatever, and so fearful of leaving, but the relationship had become toxic, and they had good sides, but the bad outweighed the good. It just kind of transitioned. And so changing, you see the reaction of people when you change, and sometimes you're shocked by it, because one main thing that happens is people lose control. They lose control over telling you what to do, over advising you what to do. Now you're on your own, and they don't like that. They want to be able to have some kind of strength in your decisions.
Hmm.
So when you change, you need to see the newness in the change that you've made for yourself. And when you see the change that you've made for yourself, then you understand that you had to change to see the growth not just for you, but for the individual that you have to leave or you're thinking about leaving. The soul tie is so powerful that you go through so much emotionally.
Mhm.
He was spot on with a lot of things. Yes, you care, but when it's time to go, that means you've exhausted everything. I don't suggest people just get up out of a relationship and leave. You exhaust everything. You exhaust talking to people. You exhaust counseling. You exhaust, you just don't get up and go because then it didn't mean anything. But at what point do you put yourself first? When you put yourself first is when you made the right move for you and
Mhm.
everyone around
Mhm.
you, including that person, instead of
Absolutely.
it becoming a stronghold. Putting yourself first can be selfish, but you got to be
Yeah.
selfish for you at some points in your life in order to grow. So yeah, put yourself first, and in the long run, the person see, I'm so glad she did that. I'm so glad I did that. Somebody has to take the step.
I'm
And
gonna
that's
Mhm.
say, I'm sorry, wait, I'm sorry. I just need people to like, share, subscribe, and hit that super chat. I know there's some more coming, so come on, so we can read your comment first. Go ahead, Pat.
and before we go to the Gaffy place, I wanted to say, even with that putting yourself first, it's one of those you see somebody and have a flashback and be like, "What the heck was I thinking?
Thinking.
The world was going on with me at that given point in time that I thought this is what I wanted."
Yes.
Again, but the
Correct.
soul tie.
Correct. And the change showed you that, not
Yes.
staying. the
And then
the hard change, the hard stepping out showed you what you couldn't see. Showed you
Hmm.
that this was, like that's that reason. God will put people in our space for reason, but we always try to slot the reason person in the season. No, 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 no. He sent them for a reason, right? That's the reason. Okay, Sheila, I sent them there for a reason. Now you putting him in as a lifer. He's not cut
No.
out or had a capacity. So we sometimes put people into a season when they was just there for a reason, but only until you change. Only when nothing changes, it will save your life. If you say this over and over, when nothing changes, nothing changes. And when you do it, you'll be just like you said, you wake up. You'll be like, oh, wow, wow, but you got to have the courage. You got to know that you got to not care about what people are going to say about you. Or she let that
Yep.
good man go. Oh, he was doing this.
Ah.
He was paying the bills. No, because people give you all these irrational reasons why you in your life should stay in something that has
Yeah.
exhausted
Yeah.
the run.
can I?
Hmm.
I'm sorry. I feel
Hey.
like I need to testify, but okay, sure. Go
Okay.
ahead. I'll want me to read the
Okay.
comment. I'll read the comment and then I'll
Gaffy's been
testify.
waiting.
It's the Gaffy Place said, please talk through some attachment styles. Explain how some of the responses and reactions correspond to each, and how to appropriately have a conversation about them
Mm.
at the beginning.
1 second. I'm sorry. I forgot to send
Okay.
somebody the link. Can I hear that again? I'm sorry.
All right. The Gaffy Place said, please talk through the attachment styles. Explain how some of the responses and reactions correspond to each, and how to appropriately have a conversation about them at the beginning.
That's a lot in one comment. Please talk through the attachment styles. There's different type. We talked about it in the beginning. We talked about soul tie attachments through positive and negative. We talked about having soul ties with our children, right?
Mm.
And how we have to understand the soul tie. I mean, how many times have you heard parents have children like more than one, and they have a stronger, it appears, soul tie with one over the other one because of the emotional, not that they love them less, it's the emotional tie, it's the bond. Just like you have bonds with your friends, bonds with your teachers, your professors. There's always different styles, but nevertheless, it's a soul tie because the mind, the natural, the mental, the emotion, the soul, mind, body, soul. There's the connection. None of it is separate. It's not separate. So people said that the mind, body, and soul are three aspects of self, represented by the brain, the gut, and heart, respectively. These three controls centers. are connected via the nervous system. So when you talk about this, it gets deep into this whole other thing. And their interaction results in overall state of being, right? So there's, I don't know, it was a lot in that comment, but they interact because a soul tie is a soul tie because of how we're wired, how we adapt to the soul tie, how we respond to the soul tie. It bases on us and what we're strong enough to do or not strong enough to do. Now, they're wonderful people. Look at people who've been married 40, 50 years. What do you think is going on in their lives, in their soul tie? It hasn't always been this blissful, wonderful thing, but their bond, how many times a loved one passes away and the loved one passes right after that one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How many times have you heard that? People say, oh, she's not going to be here much longer. They were too close. Find out 2 or 3 days later, the wife done went and left and joined her husband, or vice versa. The husband said, I can't leave here without you, baby. And he dies. Because that you have to look at all of that, the power of what someone has inside of your heart and your soul and in your mind. And we have to maintain it. We have to guard it. We have to guard our heart, and we have to water it, right? We have to water it. I mean, I've had soul ties that here's one. I'll be a little transparent, just a little, just a little. I had someone who had a liking for me in 1994. We talked. It was wonderful. It was just a talking situation. We dated, but not dated. It was never nothing intimate. But at that moment, that person felt that I was his wife. I was like, no way, no way. Here we are 30 years later. The same person has not been married, won't get married because he said I was the one. A soul tie can happen right there on the spot. How many times have you seen somebody say love at first sight? A man could walk in the room and say, that's my wife. A man can walk in a room with a whole bunch of pretty women or whatever, and he can just greet a lady and say, hey, how are you? She says, hi, my name is Carol. He said, that's my wife. Men know things that women don't know, right? And so I say that because this person had a soul tie with me from 1994, and I just kept running. I had skates on, just skating through. But my point is, to this day, he talks about that was built 1994. It's 30 years later. I said, I had a conversation with him. I said, well, I've been married a couple of times. He said, that has nothing to do with me. Right answer. Because he cares about me. He doesn't care about what happened in between. It has nothing to do with him. That soul tie was built way back when. So soul ties can be positive. They can be beautiful. We just have to understand, what are we tangled in? Especially when you sleep with a man. Now, a man sleeps with a woman. When that's semen and you become intimate, I can't say it enough. It's a covenant. It's a blood covenant because it's blood in the man's semen. So that's why you could walk away and don't see that person for a few years, but he's on your mind. People have had one night stands and can't get the man out of their head. And the man can't get the woman. That's how deep a covenant soul tie is, especially when you exchange fluids. And I said that because many of the people that are here now wasn't here in the beginning.
Renee said, I so agree with that message. I mean, I think this is really, really deep. Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess if you want to go back, so I'm going to kind of go back because I know you were answering the Gaffey place. Theo said, you definitely have to learn how to put yourself first. Michael McDonald said, facts. Theo said, a reason and a lesson.
Yeah. Get the lesson and move on.
Dr. Hardy said, avoidance attachment and secure attachment. So I guess Gaffey place, you can look that up. Reginald says, I'm going to disagree just a little. I've put myself first, but I took selfish to another level. I learned later watching my dad, he put my mom first. He would always say, happy wife, happy life.
Yeah, and that perspective, yeah, but keep putting yourself first in the perspective of harm or it's different. Of course,
Mhm.
you put your wife first, you put your husband first, but we're talking about something that could make or break you, and you making a legitimate, honest decision for the better of both people. And
Mhm.
sometimes one person has to break the soul tie when it's
Yeah.
toxic or when it's not working anymore. And a familiar spirit will have you in bondage.
Mm.
I mean, if I can go back when I said I wanted to testify, the testimony might not be as hot as it was at that moment,
Go
but
ahead and testify.
the one thing I wanted to state, like, I've said many times on the show, I was married, and I was married to a pastor. And with that being said, you talked about outside people, or even from the clip, telling you what you should do, right? Well, that's not of the Lord, and so on and so forth. And I'll never forget someone saying to me, who he actually told me, go talk to another pastor's wife. And
Mhm.
she said to me, so I said, I'm gonna have a conversation. And I was ready. I was like, if she say something off, today is gonna be the end of our friendship. Right. So I was ready. But one of the things that I respect is she says, I don't have to live with him. So I can't I know how my husband treats me. I can't tell you how your husband treats you. From that day, I gained the utmost respect for her, because it was a conversation, and not you wasn't trying to Bible beat me and make me stay
Mhm.
in something.
Right.
Literally loving you or loving him was hurting me. From a
Yes.
physical, when I say physical, my body, I was having anxiety attacks and all of these things, and I've talked about it. And then I had my children, and I had to make a decision, because from the outside, people are like, oh, she lives nice, she drives nice, she has all of these nice things. So when you come from an environment where people say, oh, well, you have
Mm.
stepped up your game and da 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 da, and I call it, and Pache has heard me say this often, my Tina Turner moment, where I
Mm.
was like, that's it. I don't care about any of this stuff.
Mhm.
I want out because I'm not happy. I'm not
Mhm.
happy. And I know this is not what God has for me. So it wasn't, I want out because I want to see somebody else, or I want out because of,
Mhm.
it was like literally loving you
Mhm.
was killing me. And
Mm.
thinking to myself, I have children and I have daughters, and what am I showing them?
Mhm.
I stay. They know I'm miserable, and a lot of times people say, "Well, we're going to stay for the kids." Well, are we really doing the kids? Are we doing? We're actually doing them a disservice, I believe, because
That's
they
right.
see that you're not happy, and then we're training them to say, "Stay." And even to your
Mhm.
point of counseling, we went to about 5 different counselors, and every time and the reason why we went to 5 is every time the counselor agreed with me, we switched counselors. So by the
Mm.
counselor, I said, I'm not going to another counseling session looking for help. You're looking for someone to tell me that I'm wrong.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
Crazy.
and I think with that, we have to, and when you say being selfish at that point, I had to choose me. I
Mhm.
had to choose
Mhm.
me and pray, God, I don't know what this looks like, right? Because my parents were married for 32 years until death did them part. So this was new. I didn't come into the relationship with children. I didn't come, there were so many things I didn't do. And now I'm like, okay, what does this look like being
Mm.
out here by myself? I
Mhm.
mean, they say we outside. I'm like, I'm outside I don't like being outside. Now, I was married for 14 years. I didn't know. I'm like, I don't know how to date. I don't know how to do. I was trained in my head to be, I'm a wife. 14
Right.
years was on practice. Wife. How do you be a girlfriend? I don't even know what that is. What do you,
Yeah.
I had so many questions coming,
Yes.
I guess, outside. I'm like, I want to go back in. I don't
Mm.
like this.
Right. That's very good. That
That's
story and that
good.
testimony is so awesome. I mean, imagine that was your selfish moment, if you, for lack of a better term, you had to go. How many because of those situations are not with us today, men and women,
Mm,
because they stayed, because they just stayed. Many the deleting percentage of people that delete based from relationship is a lot. Men and
Mhm.
women. We always talk about SA abuse with women, but men have been definitely essayed by women physically,
mhm,
but it's a
mhm.
silence with it, you don't hear about it.
Oh yeah.
And then when men kind of lose it, people don't know the backstory,
Mhm.
what they put up with or whatever. So it goes both ways, but soul ties are really deep, really, really deep. I yield.
I would
It's,
also, if I can add, this is something my grandmother used to say. She said, "No one has to tell you when you had enough; you'll just know."
That's right.
And I think that's where you have to, even if it's people that
That's
you
right.
love and you see, you can pray for them. But when somebody's constantly in your ear, that's usually when we fight against it. Like,
Hmm.
I'm gonna save my relationship. No, you just lay back when they've had enough, or when you've had enough. When you're like, I don't care about none of
oh
this
yeah.
stuff. To Pache's point earlier, I'm selling furniture. Like, you
Mhm.
can have. I
Everything.
don't care if I got to sleep on an air mattress.
That's right.
Rather sleep on the air mattress and be happy
That's
and
right.
at peace than to have a king size bed and all of the things that people think, makes you happy. And at the end of the day, you got a house, but it's not a home.
And it's a
Right.
Mhm.
difference.
And that's
It's a
important
difference.
when you could get rid of the things. Like I remember when Pache wanted to do that. She's like, everything is going. I said, everything? She said,
Everything.
everything.
'Cause
You know,
it was nice
it
stuff.
was some nice stuff. Yeah,
It
it
was some
was
real
absolutely
stuff.
it was
But
the
on the
real
flip
deal.
side, somebody needed it. I didn't want it. That attract. It wasn't coming with me and my daughter.
And that helps you move on. Getting rid of those
Because you don't
things.
see it. You don't. To your point, you don't see it. Oh, I remember when he bought so and so. Oh, I remember when I got this. Oh, I remember. I don't
Yeah,
even want an inkling of you running around up in here. So guess
you got
what?
to help yourself.
Yes, everything got to go into your point. Yes, putting myself first. And then Reginald says,
Now understanding we're talking about toxic or unhealthy relationships, I agree. You must put yourself first and
Mhm.
move on.
Mhm.
See, Reginald, if you put the Remy down, you'll know what we was talking about. You follow us. No.
follow it. And I can eat
Let
that
me
is
ask, can I
hilarious.
ask you a
Oh,
question
good.
though? Can I ask all of us a question? Have we, the panel, have we all have been single or at one time or another, right? And have you at a certain point thought of someone from your past that you thought maybe it could work now because time has passed and you guys could get back together and maybe it'll work now because of those thoughts and because you're single, right? No one has slotted in. Have you ever had those kind of thoughts like maybe I should give him a call or maybe something has changed? Have you ever thought about that?
Well, I think part not maybe I should give him a call, but I do think like, oh, you know what? If we were in a different space and time, that
Mhm.
could possibly work. I mean,
Mhm.
situations is it wouldn't work, but
Mhm.
yes. So no, not
Yeah.
giving him a call, but
But those thoughts, the point,
yeah.
my key was the thoughts of a
Oh yeah.
person that we've been with, and and like we saying, we've all said, had something been different, had that person changed or showed just an inkling of changing, then you would see something you could work with. But when there's nothing else to work with because you've worked with everything, then that's when you have to, keep it moving.
I actually, as being the wimp that I am, I made the call. I made the call and I shared my thoughts on where I thought things could be. And I knew, I guess it was a sign to show me how much that I've grown because when he was able to remind me of why we broke up back in 1995, I knew he still wasn't over it.
Mm.
So when that conversation came up, and the first thing he said to me was, "Do you remember why we broke up?" And I said, "I really don't. I was, my brain is not fully developed till I'm 25. So count it to my head and not my heart." I don't know what I said back then. What did I say?
Mhm.
And he proceeded to tell me what it was that I said and the reasoning for us breaking up. And I said to him, I said, well, you clearly remember it verbatim. So it's still very fresh to you. That was the end of that conversation because that told me right away, it's no going back to this one, sugar, because it's not, it ain't going to work.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It ain't gonna work. So yeah, I was the sucker. I made the phone call. I told you that's my problem, child. I go back, I rewind, I go back. But that one phone call was the last phone call. Trust me. But yes, I've made the phone call, and it's just
Yeah.
leave the past in the past.
That's
God
real
bless.
talk, right?
It is. It
Mhm.
is.
And Theo says the biggest lesson I learned is to stop holding on. When
Yes.
someone doesn't want to be with you, let them go. It's God's protection and redirection.
That's
Amen.
right. That's
Yes,
Yeah.
right.
yes, yes, yes.
That's right, Theo.
This
It's
this
like I'm gonna
thing
go back and I'll read that one. My grandma also said, "Don't let nobody tell you twice they don't want you." No.
is
Hello.
Okay. So yeah, grandma had a lot of wisdom. Reginald said, now I'm getting blamed. He said, Dr. Elaine, I, I just blame you ladies. Oh, y'all in it with me for
Oh.
this next round. Thank you.
Oh.
Well,
well,
can we get a
you're
super chat
welcome.
while you blaming us? And you
Right.
spending it on Remy?
Oh.
Michael
But
says,
I sure
what
just
did you
come back.
say? Oh, he wants to know, Antoinette, what did you say when you called him?
Oh,
That's what I'm assuming he's asking.
Mike, that's what you're asking? You want to know what I said to him?
I'm not sure what he.
He's
Yes. Oh, he said, Reginald, sorry. Yes, man, for the super chat. Okay, Mike, is that what you are asking? And what did she say when she called? I think I'm not
well, I
sure.
guess you
Want
can
to make
talk.
sure.
Yes,
25
25
years.
25
years
years
ago.
ago.
Oh,
Yes.
what
Well,
did you say 25 years
according
ago?
to him, he said that I started to change once I graduated from college. And that's his recollection of what happened. My recollection of what happened, it was an incident when his mama came to my house and told him to come get his drawers out the bathroom. That did it for me. So
Oh,
there are two different scenarios going on right here, peeps. I don't listen. I don't know, Mikey. Listen, it's his truth, it's his story, and he's sticking to it. Who am I to say otherwise? But I know what I remember. But if that's what he said, then that's what he said. We'll go with that. I wasn't going to argue because at that point it wasn't worth it to me. It wasn't worth it. If he could bring up something from I don't know how many years ago, like seriously, okay, I got you. Say less because I hear you. Right, Reg, I'm over it. There's a lot going on, honey. A lot going on.
So we need to remember that the mind body soul connection refers to how thoughts and feelings affect our physical well-being and how our physical well-being impacts your thought process. The thought process. The thoughts are the conscious part of your soul. We're talking about soul ties. Your awareness, your higher self is the subconscious part of your soul. That is why people meditate and pray, right? You
Mhm.
get quiet, you begin to get deep into yourself. However, some people do yoga, some people meditate, whatever your thing is, to stay in connection and stay in tune with yourself. And if you're not, your soul gets cluttered if it's not healthy stuff. I mean, renewing the mind helps the soul to transform because those of us that are believers, the king has to be the king, and the king will sweep the soul clean so that it can be regenerated and refurbished and refreshed. But the soul is the place that reminds you of all the things that didn't go right, the things you didn't do right, the things the soul just da 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 da. And it's from here to your soul. So we just have to be mindful to take care of our emotional and mental health.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
that's
want to
good.
read Dr. Hardy's comment. And I guess it's, thinking of DV. It says one of the worst things is she went back and her funeral was the next
Ooh,
week. This is
Jesus.
Wow.
serious.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
I think it goes back to say, loving you is really hurting me to a whole nother level. And sometimes we just don't see. or we don't we think it's cute when someone, oh, he just really loves me, or the way he acts about me, so and so. But it can be why we have those shows, Fatal Attraction and those types of things.
Yeah,
So
there've been many, many.
Well,
Back in the day, I used to collect old cell phones. I used to just go around collecting old cell phones from people. Just give me your phone. You don't use it, go get it. I had bags and bags, and I would take them to DV uh, places, domestic violence houses, so that these women who were there but went back, and they go back thinking something has changed, they could get a 911 call in with that phone, because
mhm.
many times they would go back, and in a volatile environment. And so I was on this whole rampage of collecting phones, old phones, didn't care the amount of the phone, long as I had the charger, charge up the phone, because you don't know the strength of a woman and the courage. Most DV people go back over and over and over before they go, before they leave,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And so that just came up when Dr. Hardy mentioned that, we try to put mechanisms in place for people who have these strong, ungodly and unhealthy soul ties to help them get to that place called there that they need to be going. And I believe, those cell phones, in my heart, I believe that that was equipping them with a 911 call,
Mm.
and so it's just hard to deal with and see men and women go through things like this and don't know, and always trying to keep face, right?
Yeah.
Like Dr. Elaine said, oh, she had this, she had that, but no one was in her house with her.
Hmm.
Oh, she has this, she has that. How could you leave? How? Because not being materialistic, but people didn't know what you was living through. So we have to get delivered from voices and what people say.
I can say this has been really, really good. What hurts us comforts us. What we said, hashtag soul ties. This has
Mm.
been really, really, really good. And I think it's about that time to wrap up. And with wrapping up, as we do here, we give everyone a chance to wrap up. We normally have our guests leave with the final word, but we have the poet, aka Miss Tony. She's going to leave us with a little poetry at the end. So I will start off by saying, remember that soul ties are deep emotional or spiritual connections that have
Mhm.
significantly influenced a person's thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Soul ties can be positive, healthy support, or negative and unhealthy. Understanding soul ties and their impact can help individuals make informed decisions about their relationships. Personal growth and self-awareness are ongoing processes that contribute to healthier relationships and overall well-being. Co-host Elaine, what do you want to say?
Well, mine is going to be a little shorter. Is I'm going to
Okay.
say, self-awareness is key
Yeah.
in soul ties. Putting yourself first is not being selfish, but it's actually being, I think, selfless, because you're saying I matter, and how I show up in this relationship matters versus what everyone else thinks how I should show up. um and then I'm also reminded of, for those of you, the old video of Juanita Bynum, No More Sheets.
Hmm.
And to just be able to your point, Pastor Sheila, talking about exchanging of fluids and all of those things, how important it is to get to know people before you enter into any covenant with anyone, that you can share, you're going to share a piece of you and not go to pieces. So that's my final words.
Counselor, mother, Sheila, I don't know what to call you. You know, take it away. And Ann is going to take us out.
Okay, well, I just want to say that I hope that this caused many of you to reflect. Those of you that are here now and those that will see this broadcast later, I really would love if you would share it, because there are so many people who need to just understand what they're dealing with. Many times people feel trapped or feel chained when basically they don't know, it might just be a soul tie. And if that is you, the way that you could begin to unleash yourself is to renounce the soul tie if it's ungodly. Renounce it, denounce it. I denounce this soul tie in my life. I will no longer be in change. I want you to also forgive the person who might have done something to you to cause this soul tie that was negative. Because if you don't forgive, that means you're still bound to a certain degree. I want you to know that you can be free from a negative soul tie and turn it into a positive soul tie if the relationship is worth it. It depends on the amount of drama that is going on in a relationship. Just because something may look a little fuzzy, a little muddy, and it appears like it's ungodly or not a great soul tie, doesn't mean that the relationship should be thrown totally away. That's something you have to weigh on your own. My mother always told me, Sheila, when you're stuck and you don't know what to do, put it on the scale and weigh it. Whichever way that scale goes, you have the answer. So you put it on the scale and you weigh it. And remember, when you're trying to be free, to grow to that place called there, you must choose you. You must choose you for the greater, especially if you have children, especially if you have things that you know are destined for you. But remember that when nothing changes, nothing changes. So you have to what? I heard you. Keep it moving. You got to keep it moving. I love you. I thank you guys so much for having me. Thank you, Pache. Thank you, Dr. Elaine, and my little bonus daughter over here. And thank you so much. I had a great time. And remember, just be all that you can be. All right. Thank you.
All righty. And the poet is going to take us on now.
All right, here we go. Soul ties. It all starts out simple, fun and easy. All the cliches and the hey boos seem so cheesy. She knows what to say and he knows what to do. The relationship sparkles like a princess diamond that is brand spanking new. The endless conversations and daily phone calls, everything seems so perfect. Let's give ourselves a round of applause. Then the honeymoon phase has come to an end. The realities of a relationship have begun to set in because we have connected in a way that is hard to explain, all because as adults we couldn't refrain from controlling the flesh and our desires, not expecting the promises and dreams to sooner or later backfire. Because things start to change and weird feelings begin to arise simply because we connected on the inside. See, that's a soul tie. When I can't understand why my mood swings and my attitudes, and you're annoyed because I'm not showing you gratitude, that's a soul tie. When I wonder why I feel stuck and can't move, every time I try to leave, it's so hard to remove me from you. That's a soul tie. When I'm afraid to take the step and move on with my life after you verbally abused me and your words cut like a knife, like I said, that's a soul tie. A soul tie is that feeling of being united with someone emotionally and spiritually, even if they were not who you were supposed to be with originally. Realizing that the connection was stronger than anticipated and it held me in a chokehold way longer than I indicated, which caused me to be irritated because I participated in something that I no longer wanted to be a part of due to the fact that I am no longer in control. These ties have stole my whole soul while my heart struggles to be consoled. Please just let go and let me go so the woman that was once me can grow and flow and throw everything away that had her bound as she searches for the best version of herself to be found. To allow her to fly free, carelessly, soar high, hoping never to encounter another soul tie.
And drop the mic and boom, boom, and boom. We thank you, the poet, Miss Tony, for
Thank you.
making just literally creating that on the spot and answering the call. Amazing, amazing. And once again, we
Amazing.
thank y'all all for tuning in to Mondays Beyond the Mic. We will see you next Monday. We thank you for spending your Monday evening with us. You could have been anywhere, but you are here. And don't forget to tune in. Tell people where to go, Mom, across the street.
You can go across the street, the YouTube streets. Sheila Ingram, broadcast international. Look, I'm
Speak
Well,
it.
that's
international.
all right.
Speak
Speak
it. You
it.
better speak it. You better speak it into existence.
Sheila Ingram Broadcast Network. Listen, you can come on tomorrow's Tuesday, isn't it? Tuesday, 10 a.m. We have Pastor Rosa in the house. She's in the chat. On Wednesday, we have, yes, Prophet Pastor Donald from Ghana. Friday mornings at 11 a.m. You have Women of Grace. Yes, yes, and yes. And you have me, 6:37 in the morning, popping up, commanding the morning. We be commanding the morning. We be doing work in the spirit realm. Mm,
Mm, mm,
mm.
mm. Cut it up. Cut it up. And on that note, we're out.
Don't forget Dawn B, Thursday night with Dawn B, right here on the
Thursday
Bravo.
night.